some sources that you can find for graphics. You can create them yourself using GIMP, Adobe Photoshop, Fireworks, or Google's Picasa. You can download graphics from a free site. You can download professional quality graphics. You can purchase a graphics collection on a CD. Take digital photographs, scan your photograph, scan your drawings, or hire a graphic designer to create graphics. What you should not do is to take images off of the web without the owner's permission. Now, a lot of people will right click on an image, save that image to their desktop, and then use it, and that's not really correct, because somebody created that one, and unless you have permission to use it, you should not use it. Guidelines for using images: reuse images whenever you can. Consider the image file size with image quality. So the larger the file size, the longer it takes to load, even on a high-speed network. You want to consider image load time. So how long does it take it to load? You should use the appropriate resolution. If you have a 100 by 100 area that you're going to place the picture in, make sure it's not 1200 by 1400, because then that's a waste of download. You download a large image to a small area, and so you're wasting all that bandwidth. You should specify the dimensions, and the dimensions should match the size of the resolution of the image itself. And you need to be aware of brightness and contrast. Anything you put on top there must be readable. If it's unreadable, people are going to leave your website and never come back. Don't rely on color alone. Some visitors may have color perception deficiencies. Provide a text equivalent for non-text elements. Use the alt attribute for your image elements. And if you cite navigation using image links, provide simple text links at the bottom of the page. So you should be able to search the web for image links to provide navigation. You should be able to see what colors they used. If the image links contain text, is there good contrast between the background color and the text and the letters on the image links? Would the web page be accessible to a visitor who is site challenged? How have accessibility issues been addressed? Is the alt attribute used to describe the image link? Is there a row of text links in the footer section of the page? You should be able to answer your findings for here, but we're not going to discuss them. Another CSS property is to have a border radius. Here we use 15 pixels, so there's a radius there. So now the logo with rounded corners will appear there. So here's one with rounded corners, and all four corners are the same. We can also specify the left, top right, and bottom left corners. So here we have the radius of those in pixels defined. And then we can configure a wrapper to have a box shadow. So earlier we did our wrapper. So in here we have a box shadow on here. Notice how it shadows from light to dark. We can also configure the opacity property. So opacity 0 means completely transparent, 1 means completely opaque. So this is about 60% transparent. When we're doing RGB A color, A stands for alpha. That's the transparency part. So we already experienced the red, green, and blue colors. Now we add an alpha channel. So here's an example: red, green, and blue with an alpha channel. So this will be white, and it'll be 70%. You can also use hue, saturation, light, and alpha colors. And here's an example of those. I much prefer the red, green, and blue, but sometimes you get better matching with printers with the hue, saturation, light, and alpha mix. Here we have gradients we can use. We can use a linear gradient, which means it'll go linearly from top to bottom or left to right. Here we have a radial gradient. Here it'll start at one point and it'll radiate out from that particular point. Okay, and so here's an example of a linear gradient. It'll go from here to here. So it's white to this dark blue down here. So notice white to this dark blue at the bottom. So this is the summary, and this will conclude chapter 4.